It is TexAgs Rewind, and hello, friends. I got the Fan Show guys here with us, Kelly and Matt. So we don't do a lot of soccer on the show, but today Kelly opened up the show with some World Cup thoughts.
Most popular sport in the world.
Matt Browning was like, nah, I'm going football because Ruben Owens, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Ruben Owens here in a second.
I'm an American. I talk football.
But you did read something that caught your attention.
I did. I saw this was cool. I saw a deal that talked about if we put our best athletes on the field, who would be on if our best athletes didn't go and play football, basketball, baseball, everything else, and we actually put our best athletes on the field, who would be on that team? They talked about it be like LeBron James could be your goalie, right? 6'8", physical, specimen. You've got guys like you could have Micah Parsons out there playing defense along with Derrick Henry and like a Christian McCaffrey or a Mike Trout. All in the background.
Mike Trout at defensive mid would be interesting.
This feels like a rugby team
and then
more than a soccer team.
And then then you talk about your speed guys. You got Christian McCaffrey. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, a guy like Devon Achane. Can you imagine if Achane played soccer? Nobody would catch him out there.
No.
I mean, you got, and then there's always the guy in the middle, the header guy, big tall header guy.
That's usually your center back. That's usually your center back in a set piece.
Yeah. So
that would be like
can you imagine
Micah Parsons or somebody.
If we put our best players on the field, our best athletes on the soccer field, no team in the country in the world could touch us.
How about Ruben Owens? Yay?
I'll take him.
Yeah, happy?
Big time. Yeah.
Love it.
Thrilled.
Was that a big part of the show today?
That's a big part.
Big part.
So we talked about
Momentum.
that. We also talked with Billy. He reacted to the newest running back commit, Ruben Owens to A&M. We talked some hoops with Tap Bentz on the program. Stephen McGee gave us his thoughts as QB1. And, of course, it was the Go Hour Heisman talk on that. And, of course, more Ruben Owens is TexAgs Rewind.
Well, I think Caleb Williams of USC is going to win it. I don't necessarily think he deserves it.
Yep.
But I think he's going to win it. I think for some reason the national media and a lot of voters just have a thing about Lincoln Riley, and they look at what his quarterbacks. Look, Caleb Williams is going to be the third quarterback that he's coached that has won it. And okay, I think caliber of competition has to be factored in. I think how you played in your biggest games has to be factored in. I think that Caleb Williams deserves to be in New York. I don't know that I would vote for him.
Yep.
People talk about Hendon Hooker, that he lost it when he didn't have a great game against Georgia. It's the best defense in the country. He had one bad game against the best defense in the country. Well, go back and look game by game at Caleb Williams, and you'll see a couple of very pedestrian games against some pedestrian opponents.
Yeah.
So, quite frankly, I was impressed with Max Duggan, who, despite having a pedestrian game in the championship game, still willed his team to be in a position to win it if his coach would just run a freaking quarterback sneak.
All it would take. Yep.
He didn't have a great game, but he made the big plays. And I think when you say outstanding player, I'm not saying I voted for him either. But I'm saying that when you have a guy that makes big plays at clutch time in big games, that's something that's going to get your attention. I think C.J. Stroud of Ohio State's going to get a lot of votes, even though Ohio State got blown out in their big game against Michigan. But was that on C.J. Stroud?
Right.
So Blake Corum of Michigan, running back, probably could have won it had he had a big game against Ohio State. But you know what? He got hurt, and Donovan Edwards had a big game instead. You could say, well, if Donovan Edwards was going to go off like that for Michigan, what would the guys starting in front of him have done?
Yep.
So you could come to that. So I think that there's going to be a lot of guys. This would have been a year if Devon Achane would have had the year we thought he was going to have, if he had gotten the blocking and A&M would have had the passing game to take some pressure off, he absolutely could have won it.
It's an extremely attractive position from a talent, from a facilities perspective, and from a job security perspective, right? So this coordinator is not coming here wondering, is this head guy going to be the head coach of this football team in 3 years? The terms of Jimbo's contracts, dictate that. I think the attractiveness of the job, though, the one thing that's going to hinge upon is Jimbo serious about giving up play calling? He's got to. No offensive coordinator wants to take this job with even Jimbo looking over their shoulder. I think he's got to say, hey, this is 100% your show. You pick the staff that you want to bring here. And then obviously all the other stuff that goes with it, to your point, the stable is full. They have tons of ability. And most importantly, you have a really, really, really good young quarterback. Like, that matters. And so this coach is going to come in here. He's probably going to get paid at the very top of any offensive coordinator in the country. I don't know what that dollar number is. I would guess it's probably close to $2.5-3 million. I don't know. And he's probably going to get guaranteed contract for 3+ years. I mean, that's nice. And then you throw on the facilities, you throw on all this young talent, and assuming Jimbo stays out of the way and says, this is your show, I think it's an incredible opportunity for an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but that said, no matter what you do, you're still a head coach, and you're going to have veto power.
Yep.
I guess you're hoping that he would use the veto power wisely. You're like, hey, this coaches will come in and say, listen, I feel like we need to work some clock here, so I want to run the football, and then you call the running plays, right? Because to this day, I wish that Kevin Sumlin had used his veto power on Noah Mazzoni when they had a 34-point lead with 17 minutes to go against UCLA and kept throwing the football.
Yep.
So.
And that's what the great head coaches do, OB, is they overrule all three phases. Like, the best football coaches on both levels, Bill Belichick, in my opinion, and Nick Saban, they aren't just defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators.
What a coup for Jimbo, Tommy Robinson, and the Aggies. First and foremost, that is a study in perseverance and how not to burn bridges and burn relationships when guys commit and choose elsewhere. You've seen Jimbo and his staff do this many, many, many times. This was another example. I think they've done it with a couple of very high-profile guys. This is another one of those incredibly high-profile examples where you are patient. And, Evan Stewart would be another one from last year. There's been so many over the years, and they're going to try to do it with other guys again this year. But, Ruben Owens, a long time ago, was going to commit to A&M, and on the day he was prepared to commit, went to Texas. And there was no anger, we're done with you. That approach never happened, and they kept recruiting him. They played the long game. They did the same thing when he committed to Louisville, and here they are standing at the end when he makes his choice. And what a monster coup! This is the best back in Texas. Some would say the best back in the country. It's he or Cedric Baxter, who's committed to Texas, and ironically enough, those are the two guys that Jimbo targeted from day one. And Ruben Owens probably even further back than that because they were so familiar with him for so long. And obviously it is a dire need. It's a dire need right now. So that was a huge coup for A&M. When you look at the backfield, to get it the day after A-Chain left is pretty. It's just pretty funny timing as well. But also A-Chain leaving was a big part of the reason why that's even more important than it was the day before he left. I mean, they needed to sign a stud running back in this class regardless. When you lose Devon A-Chain, Ruben Owens is going to walk in here with a real chance for a lot of carries right away. I mean, he's going to be competing with a couple guys that, Amari Daniels looked really good on the field there down the stretch this year, and Le'Veon Moss is one of the young players that this program's really excited about. That's it. That's it in as far as tailbacks go on this roster. So there probably isn't a better chance for immediate impact at a major Power 5 program, unfortunately, than the one Ruben's walking into, where you don't have a returning starter and there's only two other bodies there in front of you.
How big was this for Jimbo, considering the year it's been and the fact that he is legit lives up to his reputation of being an elite recruiter who can close you when he goes to see you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always rewarding to have a commitment from somebody from that long. You've been recruiting that long, and somebody local that Jimbo really. I think back on like Zach Evans and how much Jimbo liked him as a prospect and took such effort in the personal relationship. And I think this is pretty similar. in terms of how long he's liked him, how much he's liked him, how much he thinks he did it. Sitting back, thinking of the things he could do with him in this offense, with what he wants to do. So, yeah, it's big, David, but it's even bigger now that you have a 5-star at such a key position of need. And when you lose to Miche and I would say, somebody like Anthony Lucas, now that Chris Marshall's gone in the portal, so 3 of the 4 that were indefinitely suspended are gone. So I think you shift the focus there to see, can they get Lucas back? He was the one that I said I thought even had a chance to come back, as in it was even an option to him. But when you lose it to Miche and you go get, sign someone like DJ Hicks, who they've got committed, those are massive additions that are upgrading your roster.
I just never thought teams would shoot as well against us as they are. I thought Buzz's defense has always been so good, and we all, and I talked about last time I was on how they all seem to move on a string when one person. I think they're just about 2 steps late and giving people uncontested threes right now, and so everybody's not moving together. I think some of the players, what I saw early on, especially at the Myrtle Beach tournament, I know that's been a while, were trying to do too much themselves early on instead of getting in the game and letting the game. And that was one thing, if you think back to last year, Quentin Jackson let the games come to him. He would take over when it was time. He didn't do it from the first time he stepped on the floor. And I felt like there were a couple of players that maybe felt like, well, I got to take over, and they really didn't need to early on. But to me, what can they're going to be a much better team a month and a half from now than they are right now with Buzz.
Yeah, but again, the worry is these are the games that were supposed to build your resume.
Right.
And they haven't gone your way.
Well, I heard you talking to Olin about that the other day, and so let's look at it from last year's perspective. They didn't care what we did in this time of the year, right? We beat Notre Dame, who got in. We did. All they could concern themselves was that 8-game losing streak. So to me, post-Christmas, post-New Year's is going to be, if last year was any indication, is going to be a bigger indicator than what's going on now. I don't disagree with you. We should, everybody thought we were going to have this great record right now. But I think last year proved that beating somebody is maybe not important as losing in conference.
I have learned to be patient with teams, but sometimes I think the things you see early on are who you are. You can get better. There's no doubt about that. But if what we've seen so far is a reflection of how good of a team they are come SEC play, then winning 12 or 13 games in the SEC does seem much more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
I don't disagree with you, but I think I would say we probably played more, and I don't understand all this quad one stuff and everything else, but I think we've played more quad one games early this year than we did last year.
Absolutely.
So we may have had that better record going into conference, but everybody knew it was kind of more smoke and mirrors last year. And, so I think this is going to prepare us more for conference than what did last year.
All right, soccer guys, how do we close out the show?
Well, if you watch the rewind, we'll get a nice breakdown of soccer here.
Right.
And then you can subscribe, share, comment about what great soccer commentary we had.
Yep. And from these three, who would be the best soccer player? Comment below.
The one that can still run.
I'm terrible at soccer, but they're right. See ya.